Hey guys, it's Marina with Art Worthy Life, where I teach Christ-centered art journaling that gets you into God's Word every day. Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to our time to do some art journaling together. I'm really excited for today's. We have been in an awesome tropical themed month inside the Art Worthy Journal Club. If you don't know about the club, send me a message if you're interested in joining. We have so much fun, and that's where our themes and stuff come from, but I love to give you guys a little slice of that every Friday. So I'm glad you're here to join me. If you are watching today, please tell me where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, please say #replay so I know. And I'd love to know if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube because I'm live streaming to both, which is really fun. Of course, as always, I want to get us started on the right foot. So I'm going to read us some scripture. And the verse that I found for today is inspired by my theme for the month, which is the theme of paradise. And so the verse I'm going to read is about heaven, another verse about heaven, and I really, really love it. So I'm going to read that in just a minute. But I wanted to say hi to Valerie. Hey, how are you doing? I'm so glad you're joining us. I'm sure you're here. I'm sure you're enjoying being here because it's early enough for you. So I'm so glad you're on. Alrighty, let's go ahead and read some scripture. And this comes from Revelation 22, 1-5. And here's what it says. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. Revelation 22, 1-5. And actually, now that I'm looking at that, it's probably not 1-5, the one I'm looking at. It's just verse 1. But 1-5 has a really great description. So it's actually Revelation 22:1. Okay, so that's the verse that I'm going to use in my art journaling today. And if you have trouble, yes, Valerie, sure, I will message you. If you have trouble figuring out how to get your lettering to line up nicely, I just finished a video inside the art journaling DIY group, and you can go to Artworthy Life and click groups and you can see it there. It's our free group, and I have every Friday, 15-minute Friday, just inside that group. So you can only see it if you're inside that group. It's a free group, so it's fun to join. And I just did I just did a great live on how to get your lettering to come out 100% better every time. So if you're interested in that, you can see how I actually designed the lettering that we're going to use today. But we're going to wait to the end to actually apply that. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and do our watercoloring for today. So when you are art journaling, what you want to do is keep your journaling a simpler than a full-on painting. Now, some days, there's days you go absolutely crazy. Hey, Pam, so glad to see you. Speaking of going all out, Pam just created the most incredible art journal from start to finish. The whole thing is full, and it's like a book. It's fabulous. I love it. I love it so much. She is incredible. Okay, so anyway, sometimes you want to go all out, but most of the time, the way we do art journaling, at least inside the group, is you want something pretty, but not something that's going to overwhelm you where you feel like you can't get it done in one session. So how do you do that and still end up with something pretty? So sometimes you just need to take the idea you have and simplify it. And sometimes it's about making it smaller, and sometimes it's just about using less paint, using less time. And one of the best things you can do sometimes is just set a timer. And for some people, timers are stressful. For me, sometimes a timer is actually a relief because I know when that timer goes off, I can't do anything more to it. I just need to be happy with it. But what I want to do is take a painting that we did on inside our journal club, and I'm going to simplify it into an art journal page. Here's the painting we did. And what I'm going to do is do basically the same idea, but as you can see on this screen right there, I have my art journal already drawn out to look similar to this. But what I'm going to do is basically create this look without going into so much detail. So this one would take about 2 hours to actually create the whole thing. This one that we're about to do shouldn't take more than half an hour. And that's a good amount of art journaling time. So what I'm going to do is use my Mozart watercolor set. And if you'd like to see what kind of supplies I typically use, here's the name of that set. You can take a screenshot of that if you'd like. And I'm going to go ahead and move my screen over so you guys can see a little bit more. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this for the really nice blues and stuff that it has in it. I just absolutely love this set. And then the paintbrush I'm going to start with is, excuse me, that one's snuck up on me. Ah, I'm sure you guys are saying bless you over there. So thank you for those of you that did. Okay, so I have my Master's Touch watercolor brush, and you can see that name up there on the screen. This is the size 16 round. It's a really great size for working with large amounts of space in your art journaling. So I'm going to go ahead and wet my brush, and I'm going to do the same colors, like the exact same colors that I had on the page that we created the other day. I'm going to move this so that that's out of the way right now. But I'm just going to work faster, number one, and not so detailed. That's basically all I'm doing. So I'm going to take number 89 Azurite Blue, a really great fun blue, and also some of the Brilliant Green. I really like to add that Brilliant Green for some great watery colors. And what I'm going to do, and you don't have to work fast. I am not saying you have to work fast. You can always do your art journaling slowly and, calmly and relaxingly, if that's a word. But what I like to do is show you that you can get pretty pages in a short amount of time. So I'm going to mix up this blue really quick right there. And then I'm also going to mix or pull over my yellow ochre. Now, yellow ochre is this nice sandy color. I love to use it for sand. It's kind of a mustard brown color. But I love to use it for sand because it just has this nice yellow, bright yellow tone. It's a good contrast to the blue. And I just want that pulled over into my palette so that when I get ready to do my color on my page, it's already there. It's already wet. I don't have to wait because I really want my colors to flow nicely. So I'm going to take my light blue, which is that blue green. Again, that's Azurite Blue and Brilliant Green mixed together, number 89 and number 43. And I'm going to start at the top of my page and drop in this, or not drop in, but go ahead and paint in this color. Now, when we did our actual painting, we took a lot more time making sure that our edges were all neat and clean and all of our lines looked perfect. But if you'll notice right now, I'm just going to be coloring this whole thing in very quickly. And I'm going to go ahead and do all of this. Here's another way that I'm speeding up the process is I'm going to be painting all of this all at once. Now, when we did this in our paint party, we only did it in sections at a time just to make sure the colors would not dry before we were done dropping in more. But I'm going to go ahead and do all of it all at once. Now, I have my water down here just like that. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and do my sand down at the bottom in yellow. I'm already adding the sandy color, which is totally different than we did during the paint party. I'm basically adding my yellow way, way, way early. This is yellow ochre, by the way. I'm adding it way early because my painting is smaller. My art journal page is much smaller than a regular painting. So I can go ahead and start adding color super, super soon. Now, what I've done is I've gone straight over to my palette and I'm adding in fully pigmented yellow ochre to the bottom half of this page. And I'm going to go ahead and drop this in all the way up to this sandy line here. And I'm actually going to let it go ahead and flow into this next section because I want to see that yellow blend with the blue. That's what makes that sudsy line look like it's actually flowing over the water. Now I can see my page is starting to dry, so I'm going to work a little quicker. And I'm really being, you could call this sloppy. I'm really being kind of sloppy. But the reason is because I want to get all this color down and I just don't want this to take me 2 hours. I want to be able to get this page done, get my water down there, and I really love dropping in the color. So I'm trying to get to the point of dropping in the color quicker. So now I'm mixing up some darker pigmented Azurite Blue and Brilliant Green, and now I'm going to drop in that darker color. And I just use it real pigmented on the brush and drop that in super dark. I'm going to go ahead and kind of pull it around. I am leaving little bits of white space, but I'm not being very precise about them. They're just kind of here and there, and they're not very organized or specific. I'm kind of dropping in this one. I want to keep these sections nice and wet because I'm still using the wet in wet technique to drop in all that color. And I don't want my colors to dry before I finish dropping that color in. I'm going to go ahead and do that over there. Still leaving some little spots of white space, but being very, very loose with my brush strokes. I'm not taking near as much time as we actually would if this were a full-on, slow down type painting. So now I'm going to mix up even more pigment on my palette. And what I'm doing is I'm making my paint very sticky. I'm not doing a lot of water in the palette there. I'm going to press my masking tape back down. I'm working quickly, so my masking tape is like, ah, what are you doing to me? And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some dark color here and there to make sort of like little waves. And I'm going to take this dark color, instead of mixing up a unique shading color, I'm just going to take this dark color and use that for the shadow right up underneath these little bits of suds that are coming in. So I'm going to just draw that shadow up underneath there, and I'll probably do a little bit more once it dries, but that'll give me a starting point to that shadow that I know I'm going to want later. And I can kind of keep it real pigmented and drop in even more color. I might not need more if I can get it all done right now, which is another way to speed up the process. Just kind of like add things as you go. Here's my nice dark shading. And I'm just dropping in that color real carefully. But look how you can accomplish a very similar look. And obviously, I mean, especially if I zoomed in, you can tell this is very quickly done. It's not like super professional looking or whatever, but to me, this is a cool looking page for what, how much time have we spent on this? 5-10 minutes, something like that. I mean, if you are like, hey, my art journal always looks a little bit, not quite done, or, it's not as nice as I'd like it to look. This is, if you think about what you're painting and you're not trying to do something outrageous in a 5-minute span of time, like this is a simple painting you can get done in a short amount of time. So you can also just think about, what are you painting? Are you choosing to do things that are simple, that are actually doable within your time frame? And you can kind of get that done. I'm adding a little bit more blue down here on the sand because I want to show this water kind of coming in a little bit more. But I just want that greenish haze to sort of flow down to the bottom. And then I'm going to take yellow ochre and maybe a little bit of black. So I'm going to take yellow ochre, mix it with a little bit of black. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a color to use for the shading under these suds right here. And those little suds can have a tiny little shadow in front of them as well. And I really should wait for those to be more dry before I try to do some shading. But again, working quickly. And I'm going to kind of clean them up with a clean, wet brush, just like that. And to me, that page is actually pretty close to done for what we're going for. So I'm going to grab my blow dryer, which is another way to speed up the process if you're trying to get some stuff done quickly. I'm going to grab a blow dryer. Actually, before I do that, one more thing. With a little bit of the color that's still on my brush, I'm going to touch the white suds a little bit, because I don't like those white things to be really stark white. I like them to be, have a little bit of stuff going on. There's some what do you call it? Cauliflowering going on in this corner. So I'm going to fix that a little. Sweep it up a little bit so there's not some giant puddles going on. These giant puddles are kind of bleeding into each other. But that happens when you're kind of going quickly. So I'm just going to do some little bits of shading over here on that. But that's good enough for that. Obviously not as nice as our original painting, but good enough to get us an art journal page fairly quickly. Now I'm going to hit this with the blow dryer, which means I need to mute. But then I'm going to come back and we will continue. Now, I just want to say really quickly, if you're going to use a blow dryer or a heat gun of some kind to do your to dry your watercolors quickly. Number one, it's not the best way to let watercolors dry. If you talk to professional watercolor artists, they will say, you know, letting it dry is really the best way to let the color sink into the page and all of that. But if you're working quickly, it does work. And my tip is that you start kind of high above the page and then bring your nose of your blow dryer closer and closer and closer as you see the puddles start to evaporate. What you don't want to do is get right on it and then blast your puddles and spread it all over your page and spray it all over your desk at the same time. So start high, wiggle kind of slowly, and just kind of watch for it to dry. And then as it dries, get a little closer. You can also just leave it high up if you're worried and just wait for it to dry. It takes a little longer that way, but that's how you do it. Hey, Terry, good morning. All right, I'm going to mute, finish blow drying, and then I'll come right back. All right, so if you're just joining us, what we're basically doing is taking a fancy, full-on, 2-hour painting that looks like this. Let me go ahead and do this so you can see it. And we're converting it into a simpler art journal page that you can do in a shorter amount of time. So what I've done is I've basically taken the same lines, same look, and done it way quicker. So obviously my shading is a little less perfect. My lines are not quite so thin on the shading underneath the suds. My suds aren't as perfect as I want them to be. But look, I can get a really cool art journal page and not worry about taking 2 hours to do it. The other thing I've done is I've eliminated some of the elements. One of the things I didn't do is I didn't do this little thing in the corner. You could always add that later if you really wanted to, or maybe put it on the next page tomorrow, or whenever you art journal next. You can still incorporate this, but maybe make it into a separate art journal page so you're not having to do all of it all at once. And so what I'm going to do now, let me switch this again so that that's smaller for you, is remove the masking tape, which is one of my favorite parts. Look at that. I love that. So pretty. And I usually pull kind of down and close to the page so it doesn't tear my paper. And that looks really cool. I mean, just from a bird's eye view, which we're kind of looking above at the water. I mean, that looks really nice for like, what, 10 minutes or something. Now I'm going to take my eraser, if I can find my eraser, and erase my pencil lines that are around my suds. And that'll make my page look even cleaner. And you can see where some of the tide line, it's fun to say tide lines when we're working on like a tide, images of waves. But tide lines basically means when your watercolors, when there's too much water on the page and the color starts to run to the edge and it creates edges that you don't want. Now, people do use tide lines as like an artistic effect. If you mean to do it, that's great. Sometimes it happens and you don't mean to do it, and that can be a little bit frustrating if you're trying to blend things nicely and smoothly. But it's kind of fun to talk about tide lines when we're like painting the tide coming in. That's pretty cool. So what I did during the Art Journal DIY 15-minute Friday, which is over in the Art Journaling DIY group, is I created this lettering page just from scratch. So I'm going to take this same lettering idea now that I have it all planned out and mapped out, and I'm going to put it onto this page. If you want to see how I did this, you can go and join the Art Journaling DIY group. It's free, and I have the video on there. You can watch how I plan out my lettering to make it look neater. In the long run, it ends up making a lot of the lettering job way easier and way more relaxing and more fun, which is always nice. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm just using this as my guide, basically. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to go ahead and, with a mechanical pencil, do some lines on my page. And I try to keep these guidelines really light because I want to be able to erase them nicely later. But I want them to be there so that I can follow them. And I'm going to put this under there like that. Just do a little bit more. Like so. And once I have that where I want it, now I'm going to take my calligraphy pen, and you can use whatever pen you like. My favorite is Tombo's Fudenosuke pen, and this is the hard tip. They also have a soft tip, which works very well. If I didn't have the hard tip, I would use the soft tip, but the hard tip is, to me, even better and easier to control. And I'm going to do the words water and life in bigger, more fun lettering, and then come in and fill the rest in. And I can kind of tell by where I've spaced this out which area that's going to work best on. Okay, so this is the part of the show where Marina stops talking, because if Marina talks while she writes, she misspells words on live. So go ahead and talk amongst yourself. Tell me while I'm writing, what is here? Tell me two things. One, tell me what is your favorite tropical place you've ever been to. And number two, tell me the last time you went to the beach or the coast. Alrighty, and I'm going to write while you guys talk amongst yourselves. And then I'm looking forward to seeing your comments. Alrighty, so water. And then I'm going to do the word life next, because the word life needs to be big and flowy as well. And I don't want my word of to be obscuring that. So I'm going to do the word life next and then fill in the word love. Love. I mean of. Let's see. Rhonda says loves the, is that pronounced abacus, like the calculator, or is it something else in the Bahamas? Maybe you could spell out the phonetic spelling. Thanks for watching, Rhonda. I'm so glad to see you on. And and you live in Kiowa Island in South Carolina. Ah, is that so? South Carolina is pretty hot, right? So is it kind of tropical, or is it? I mean, maybe not tropical, but is it pretty? Is it pretty sunny? Okay, I'm going to let you guys comment, but I'm going to go ahead and write in the rest. So now I'm going to do block font for the rest and fill that in. And that's how I get my big words to fit before I do the smaller lettering. So I'm going to go ahead and use this as a guide and just fill this in. And now, sometimes when I'm freehanding my lettering, I squish stuff or stretch stuff just to make sure they come out even. You can kind of eyeball it as you're going, but sometimes I have to squish things and stretch them out. So like I make my words a little longer to make sure they come out on the sides. Just an idea. Let's see, clear as crystal, we'll put down here. By the way, there's lots of phrases that come from the Bible, such as crystal clear. See how I'm stretching these letters out to make them fit? Proceeding out of the throne I'm going to do throne of God a little closer together. Throne of God. And then I'm going to do our scripture reference down at the bottom, Revelation. (22:1). All right, and I haven't done the word of, water of life, because I wanted to see where it would fit best. And I think it will probably look better. Water of life. I'm going to erase my lines first. So I'm going to erase my guidelines first and then see where the word of will look better for water of life. All right, let me look at comments. Rhonda says, yes, subtropical and 10 miles of beach. Woo! Abaco. Abaco, so no S sound. Abaco. Did I say it right, Rhonda? That's fun. Wow. I love it. So when did you go there? When did you go to the Bahamas? She says, oh, love your painting and Bible verse. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Terry says, we lived in Micronesia for 3 years. Last time we went to the beach was in February. Yay! Did I say that right? I haven't even heard of that. Where is that? I'm assuming, was that like, I don't even know where that is. You'll have to tell me. Sounds wonderful though. Okay, so you guys are going to give me a geography lesson. I don't know where half these places are. The bad part is if I turn on like the screens that pop up on if you have Windows or whatever, they pop up those really cool travel locations and stuff. I have to like ignore that or somehow turn it off because they just make my travel bucket list, whatever, longer and longer and longer and longer. I keep seeing these gorgeous pictures of places. Oh, so pretty. God created a really beautiful planet. Even the fallen planet is gorgeous. Can you imagine what the Garden of Eden looked like? Or can you imagine what paradise in heaven is going to look like? It's amazing. Alrighty, so that is all I have except for my word of. So let's see. I'm going to put the word of tucked in right here so that my phrase looks nice and even. So now my whole phrase, you can even do little quotes like that. Like that. And it says, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God. Super simple, kind of straightforward art journal page, but didn't take a very long time and still looks really, really fun. So that is all I have for you guys today. I really want to encourage you to take some ideas for paintings that maybe you've done before or paintings that you've seen that are big and elaborate and just simplify them. Take away some of the elements, simplify the colors, and just try to, jump in and maybe even set yourself a timer. Say, okay, I've got 20 minutes to work on this one. And you'd be surprised what you can accomplish in a short amount of time in a beautiful page like that. Isn't that fun? Terry says between Japan and Australia. Okay. So I hope I said it right. Micronesia is between Japan and Australia. Wow. Guam, Saipan, Yap are some of the islands. Okay. So that must be what all of that is called. It sounds familiar. I must have heard that before, but I didn't really know what that was. Okay, that's really cool. You will have to show me pictures of when you were there. That's really fun. Charlotte says, thanks, great ideas. Thank you so much, Charlotte. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out, and share it with someone that you think would enjoy it, or share it to your Facebook page. That would be really great. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you will join me again. I'm live every Friday. Let me go ahead and put this up here. I'm live every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 Central, and 1:30 Eastern, right here at Artworthy Life, except I will not be live next week because I will be on a plane to Tennessee to a hot location. I'm so excited. Alrighty, God bless you guys. Have a great weekend, and thanks for watching. Bye.